Welcome back, folks. Gather around. I'm your tour guide, Andy, and today's expedition is technology. It seems like these days, you can't walk 10 feet without running into some kind of tech, from the internet to cars, microwaves, TV. I mean, even if you're in the middle of nowhere, there are hundreds of radio signals passing through you at light speed. And speaking of radio signals, today's episode, we're going to be comparing two Android phones, the Samsung Galaxy S6 and the Motorola Droid Turbo 2. I only recently switched to Android. I was an avid iPhone user for 8 years, and I think I might save that topic for another video. So my first Android phone was the Turbo 2. It had a lot going for it. It has the shatterproof display, big screen, but after a few weeks of use, I knew it wasn't for me. So I started looking for another phone. I spent hours watching YouTube reviews of different Android devices, going to the different websites to look at the specs, and after all that research, it appeared that the Samsung Galaxy lineup was the obvious choice for what I was looking for in a phone. The Galaxy phones sort of remind me of the iPhones. They are well made and offer users a premium experience. Also, the Galaxy S7 was just recently announced, so I was able to get the S6 at a decent price. Not bad. So I decided before returning my Turbo 2 that I would do this comparison in case some of you were in the same boat as me and need help deciding on which phone to purchase. Both phones were released in 2015, and if you didn't know, the Droid Turbo 2 is only available through Verizon, so if you have a different carrier, no Turbo for you. We're going to be reviewing the major features of each phone, listing pros and cons. I'm going to tell you what I like and what I don't like about each phone, and in the end, I'm going to leave it up to you to decide which phone to buy because each device is suited for a different type of person. I'm going to be breaking down this review into 5 categories. 1. In the box. 2. Around the phone. 3. On the screen. 4. Behind the glass. And 5. Through the net. In the box is our first category in which we unbox each device and compare their contents. Now, I've already used both devices, so my unboxing isn't going to be fresh off the shelf, but the goal here is to simply see what's inside. We begin with the Turbo 2. The outside of the box is a nice matte black with sleeve, and as previously stated, this phone is only offered through Verizon. Alright, so we can see the package contains the Droid Turbo 2, SIM card, quick charger, and some paperwork that you're going to throw away. Now I picked up the 32GB Turbo 2, which retails for $624. Take the thing off here. Okay, and this is the top of the box, so we're gonna take this off here, and we get a good look at the front of the Turbo 2. You have to kind of get your fingers in there to get it out. Okay, so here's the back of the Turbo 2. Looks pretty nice, and we'll take a look at that in a little bit. Let's see what else is in here. We have some cardboard. Oh, and you get a pretty nice SIM tray ejection tool. The SIM card and micro SD card combo tray are located on the top of the Turbo 2. So all you have to do is insert the SIM ejection tool into the hole and push in like so. The little tray pops out and you kind of have to grab it with your fingernails to get a good hold of it and then pull it out towards you. Like this. So you can see that's where the SD card goes and your SIM card is located right beneath it. To insert the tray, simply push it back in. Now keep a hold of this tool. You want to keep it close by in case you ever need to remove your SD card. It works for any SIM phone as well. Alright, so next in your box we have your quick reference guide and other legal junk. And the last thing that's in the box is the quick charger. Now this quick charger works really fast. Unfortunately, it does not come in a wall and USB cord combo. It only plugs directly from the wall to the phone, but most likely you have another micro USB cord around somewhere if you need to transfer data to your computer. And as you can see here, this is a 25-watt charger. Alright, and as you can see, there are no earphones in the box. What's up with that? It makes me think that Motorola doesn't really consider this device as a music device. And so those are all the contents of the Turbo 2 box. Okay, now we're going to move on to the Samsung Galaxy S6. Here's the box. I picked up the 32GB Gold Platinum Edition. It retails for $576. The box is a matte white finish with sleeve. Okay, so we can see it's offered through Verizon as well as other carriers. And on the back, you can see that the package contains the Samsung Galaxy S6 phone, the SIM card, the wall and USB charger, headphones, and some paper that you're probably going to be throwing away. Alright, so we remove the sleeve and then pop off the top to find this beautiful gold Samsung Galaxy S6. Look at that thing, it's beautiful. It also comes with a SIM tray ejection tool as well. The SIM tray is located on the right hand side, right underneath the power button. So about right here. And to insert the tool, you just put it right in the hole and the tray will pop out just like the Turbo 2. So just put it in here like this, push in, and then grab with your fingers. Pull it towards you. Of course, this doesn't have a micro SD card slot, and just push it back in. Alright, let's see what we got next. Paperwork. We got our quick guide and our other illegal junk from Verizon, getting to know your phone, global stuff, yada yada. The S6 comes with a USB cord, which is really nice to have in case you're transferring data. So we can see this is a micro USB cord. We have our wall unit, which is the fast charger. It actually says that it's a travel adapter. But all you gotta do to connect these two is insert the USB into right there. So it was really nice having both of those. And the Samsung S6 comes with earpods. They kind of look similar to the Apple earpods. They have the built-in mic, volume and select controls, and they also have these really nice ear fitting covers. And I've had a pleasant experience with them because they do not tangle often. And if you've used the Apple headphones, you know what I'm talking about. These are really nice. I've had no issues with their sound. And that's all that's in the box. And then we move to our second category around the phone. Starting with the S6 on the front, we have the hidden notification LED, ambient light and proximity sensors, 5 megapixel camera. Moving down, we have the physical home button with integrated fingerprinter, and on each side are the capacitive tab and back buttons. The volume buttons are located on the left-hand side, which can also be used to take pictures, and the power button and SIM tray are located on the right side of the device. On the bottom, we find the solo speaker right over here, the microphone, micro USB port, and 3.5mm audio and jack combination port. Flipping over to the back, we see it's a fingerprint magnet, but we also have the flash over here, the heart rate sensor, and of course the 16 megapixel camera with noticeable bump. On the top we have the IR port and noise cancelling mic. And that's it for the Samsung. Okay, picking up the Turbo 2, you can quickly see that there's an LED flash in the upper left hand corner. Moving over to the right, 5 megapixel selfie camera, ambient light and proximity sensors. At the bottom we have the front facing speakers but no dedicated home, back or tab buttons. Moving to the back we see it's nicely textured, which makes it easy to hold. Then you have your NFC sensor right here. All you gotta do is kind of like wave it around. You have your dual LED rear flash and 21 megapixel camera. On the top we have our 3.5mm audio jack as well as the SIM card and SD card tray. Finally, all the buttons are on the right hand side on this sleek bezel. The Samsung S6 measures 5.62 inches tall, 2.75 inches wide, approximately 1/4 inch thick, and weighs 4.9 ounces. The Turbo 2 measures 5.81 inches tall, 3.07 inches wide. It is approximately 3/8 of an inch thick, and it weighs 6.1 ounces. And stacking the phones together, you can see that the Turbo 2 is only slightly larger. And lining them up, you can see that the Turbo 2 is really only a few millimeters thicker. Our next category is on the screen, in which we compare the displays of each device. The S6 has a beautiful 5.25 inch Quad HD AMOLED display covered in Corning Gorilla Glass. Its resolution is 2560 by 1440 pixels, bringing that pixel density to an amazing 577 pixels per inch. This display is truly gorgeous and the colors are absolutely vibrant. The Turbo 2 has a slightly larger display at 5.43 inches and is also a Quad HD AMOLED display. It shares an identical resolution at 2560 by 1440, but because of that larger display, the pixel density comes in at 540 pixels per inch. The big advantage though for the Turbo 2 is the Motorola Shadow Shield display technology. But this shatterproof display means it has more of a softer surface, almost like a plastic, which doesn't really look nice on the screen. It makes it an obvious loser in the race for best looking display. Next category is behind the glass, where we test the performance of each device, and we'll start with a race for booting up. Getting the power buttons ready, and turned on. Both of these phones ship with Android 5, aka Lollipop. The S6 is available in 32, 64, or 128GB internal storage, although it has no SD card tray. The Turbo 2 is available in 32 or 64GB internal storage with SD card expansion. Alright, so the clock has popped up first for the Turbo 2, with the S6 quickly behind. And here I'm trying to use the fingerprint sensor on the S6, and it doesn't work too well. It took me a couple tries. So the Turbo 2 won for the boot up race. The second test is called a benchmark test, which measures the performance in terms of processing speed, memory usage, and graphic rendering. One of the best benchmark apps is made by Antutu. And here you can see the scores from last time I ran the test. The numbers don't really mean much, except when they're compared to other devices. So we'll start with the new test. And that test will start with a 3D rendering, and as you can see here, the colors are much more vibrant on the S6 as I mentioned before. The S6 finishes first with a score of around 63,000, and the Turbo 2 wins with a combined score of over 81,000. So the Turbo 2 won the 3D, UX, and CPU categories. I'm going to run the test 2 more times and we'll see if the benchmarks continue to follow this pattern. Okay, so the second test had similar scores comparing the phones. And finally, the third test, you can see that there was a drop in score for the Turbo 2, but it was still beating the S6 overall. And if you want to see how your phone ranks among others that have tested, just click on the ranking tab at the bottom and you can see the different rankings of each type of device. Many users agree that a phone's camera is one of its most important features. The S6 has a 5 megapixel, 1.9 f-stop front-facing camera capable of shooting 1440p at 30 frames per second. It also allows for dual camera video calling and dual camera video recording and has auto HDR. The rear camera comes in at 16 megapixels and has an f-stop of 1.9. It can shoot up to 4K at a resolution of 3840 by 2160 pixels at 30 frames per second, 1080p at 60 frames per second, and 720p at 120 frames per second. There's a single LED flash, HDR, face detection, panorama, dual recording, and these are just some of the features of the camera. If you go into the plugins, you can download more things like creating a 360 degree picture, and there's some other cool features in there too. You better check those out. For the Turbo 2, we have a 5 megapixel 2.0 f-stop front-facing camera with a single LED flash, and that's something we don't find on the S6. No flash over there. It also shoots really well in low light. Alright, moving to the back, we have a 21 megapixel rear camera at an f-stop of 2.0, a dual LED flash, and once again that distinguishes itself from the S6. There's only a single LED on the S6. And this camera features auto HDR, panorama, and shoots up to 4K videos at 30 frames per second and 1080p at 30 frames per second. So it doesn't really record any slow motion like the S6. Alright, so to get to the camera app on the S6, all you have to do is simply double tap on the home button and the app launches very quickly. Hey, what's up guys? So this is the 5 megapixel selfie camera. Alright, to get to the rear camera, all you gotta do is press the little button switch. So right there. Alright, now we're checking out the rear camera. Looking around the room, looking at my books, looking at the table. And if you click the little button down here on mode, those are the different pro features. So you can download some of these, some of them come standard. Here is the picture in picture. So as you can see on the top left is the selfie camera. And you can actually make different shapes with these shapes down here. So you can do a heart or a box. To take pictures, all you have to do is click on the camera button, and you can also use the volume switches. To start recording, all you got to do is tap on the camcorder and it'll start recording. You can capture pictures by clicking on the little camera button and stop recording by pressing on the square. And those are the basics for the camera on the S6. Flick your wrist twice to open the camera app on the Turbo 2. How cool is that? These just come up when you first open it. So if you swipe left, you get your settings, and if you swipe from the right, you get your gallery. Swipe like that, get your settings. There's your gallery. Tap on the screen to get your pictures. I actually don't like that. And you can use the volume buttons as well. Switching to the selfie camera. Hey, what's up, guys? Alright, switch back. And you can start video recording by tapping the camcorder button. I say the S6 wins by far for the camera. It shoots better video and has more features. Another important spec in a phone is battery life. Both of these phones started at 100%. As you can see here, the S6 has 5% less battery so far. The S6 has a 2550 milliamp battery, which is not very good at all. And you are unable to change that battery because of the back of the device. It is sealed. Samsung advertises standby time up to 13 days and usage time up to 20 hours. Now, I usually have a wireless charger at home and work. So far, I haven't run out of juice in a day, but I know if I didn't have a charger around me, I would probably be running really low at the end of the day. The battery in the Turbo 2 is also non-removable. However, it comes in at an amazing 3,760 milliamp hours. That is more than the new Samsung 7 Edge. When I used this phone for weeks, I rarely kept it on a charger because the battery is that good. Motorola advertises a standby time up to 15 days and usage time up to 48 hours. If you're not doing a whole lot on the phone, I could definitely see this battery lasting 2 days. Now, each phone comes with quick charging, which allows for a full charge to occur within an hour or less. The S6 and the Turbo 2 both support Qi and PMA wireless charging, so that is super awesome. Here's a small wireless charger without the USB cord that I purchased from Amazon for only $8. It has an anti-slip pad, status LED, and all you have to do is plug in your cord on the top. Now, it doesn't come with a wall unit, so you have to buy one of your own or plug it into another USB port. On the S6, you want to be placing it right about here in order to get the best wireless connection. It's just below the camera lens on the back. For the Turbo 2, it should be placed right around here. Now, if you have a phone that supports wireless charging and you're not using it, you have to get one of these chargers. They are super awesome. It's super easy. All you gotta do is place it down, put your phone on the top, and you're charging. Now, the wireless charging is not as fast as the rapid charger, but if you're not in a hurry, I would consider them essential. I picked up 3 of them. I have 2 at home, 1 at work, and I'll be picking up another one when I figure out how to integrate it with magnets and make it a wireless charging car mount. Each phone offers 4G LTE, dual band Wi-Fi up to AC, and hotspot capabilities. However, the S6 also offers Wi-Fi direct communication. They both run on USB 2.0 through the micro USB ports on the bottom, but the port on the S6 is a little difficult to deal with. I feel like I have to be really careful when I'm inserting the cord. Each phone has NFC and Bluetooth 4.1, but the S6 has an IR port on the top, allowing it to emulate your remote for your TV, Blu-ray player, etc. You can change the channels, the volume, the power. Scroll down here, you can change the input, go to your menu, and you have different features up here like TV guide, and you have your channel listing over here. And if you find your favorite channel, all you gotta do is press it and it will actually turn your TV to that channel. How freaking cool is that? Now, I don't always use this app, but if I can't find the remote, usually my cell phone's nearby and then I can do anything I need to on the TV. Each phone features an 8-core processor and 3 GB of RAM. They have the standard sensors like GPS, compass, accelerometer, but the S6 wins because it also has the fingerprint sensor and the heart rate monitor on the rear of the device. Our final category is through the net. We'll be testing upload and download speeds to see which one is the better surfer. We test using the Ookla app, and right now the devices are hooked up to Wi-Fi at a 5 GHz band. And we begin the test. Here we go. Alright, it's pinging. S6 looks to be doing pretty good. Turbo 2 is kind of slowly but steadily getting up there. Alright, 115 top download speed for the S6, 54 for the Turbo 2. Upload speed for the S6 looks like it's going to be right around 8 megabits per second, and Turbo 2 at 6.34. So as we can see after the first test, the S6 wins with 115 megabits download, 8 upload. Turbo 2 won the second test. S6 won the third test. S6 won the fourth test. And Turbo 2 killed it in the fifth test with a large margin for the download speed. Okay, so overall, I would say that these tests actually reveal that each phone performs well when they're averaged out. The S6 won 3 out of 5, but I would still call this a tie. Alright, so that was the comparison between the Samsung Galaxy S6 and the Motorola Droid Turbo 2. Overall, I would call it a tie. The Turbo 2 is getting a lot of attention, and I believe it's because of its shatterproof display. Motorola guarantees for 4 years that the display will not crack or shatter. Go ahead and search YouTube for Turbo 2 shatter display test. You will see a bunch of people dropping this thing off buildings, hitting it with a hammer and running over with a truck. And Motorola's right, the display will not crack or shatter. However, what you need to know is that just because the display is shatterproof does not mean that it's shockproof. So it's still susceptible to high impact. And if you watch some of these videos where they're dropping this thing and hitting it, you'll see that the phone ultimately dies because the internal guts cease to function. But if you're just dropping your Turbo 2 from about 5 feet, it should be okay. Here's what I don't like about the Turbo 2. Number one has got to be those recessed buttons, the volume and the power buttons. They're super thin and just like they're really hard to press if you don't press them just right. If you're a little bit off, like for the power button and the volume down button, you can actually hit the side of the phone and then like not even press a button at all. So those were super annoying. I get like they wanted to keep this thin sort of profile going on, but you know, give me a freaking button that sticks out, you know? Another thing I didn't like was that there's no LED notification on this Android device. It was also just a little too wide for my hands. I felt like I was like holding a brick or something. Another thing I didn't like, and this mainly has to do more with Google, is the way that the operating system combines apps when you put them in folders on your home screen. As you're aware, you can combine apps and put them in a folder. Well, in this one, you know, each app kind of lays on top of the other one in terms of when you're viewing it on your home screen. So if you have 2 to 3, 5 apps in a folder, you only really see an icon for the first one, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'd like to see a bunch of little icons all in the same folder. The next thing I didn't like is the quick settings. To get to the quick settings on this Turbo 2, you have to swipe down twice. I prefer one swipe, so 2 swipes is too much. Speaking of quick settings, there's no quick setting for sound. If you want to turn it on vibrate or mute, there's no quick setting for that. You literally have to press the volume down button until you get to vibrate or mute. So, and then you have to press it back up if you want to get it, you know, back to what you were. That's too much for me. I like, you know, just a one press for vibrate or mute. And the last thing I didn't like is still with the quick settings is that you cannot easily edit your quick settings. Unless you root your phone, you cannot change the quick settings in the Turbo 2. You know, they have things like hotspot in there, and I don't use hotspot a lot on my phone, so I would like that real estate freed up for something that I do use, like sound. What I ended up doing is downloading an app, and it lets you put the quick settings in the first swipe, but it's always an app that's running, and I would just rather have it be good Alright, so here are the things that I like about the Droid Turbo 2. The huge battery life. You will definitely last all day with this phone. It is not going to run out on you. It also had the better benchmark display, so this thing can compute stuff very quickly. It also has a larger screen. So even though I don't like really wide phones, it was really comfortable to scroll through Facebook and surf Chrome and surf these websites where, the text is bigger and I didn't have to hold it so close to my face. The shatterproof display. I mean, even though I've never cracked a display on a phone before, it's pretty comforting to know that, I could throw this thing across the room and it would be okay. It has external storage, micro SD card slot. Most Android phones have them, this one has it. It's nice to have that option. I really like the proximity notifications on the Turbo 2. As you go to reach for your phone, the notifications and time pop up. That's pretty cool. It has front-facing speakers, and I think we're all in agreement that that is the best location on the device for sound output. I really like the gestures for the flashlight and the camera on the Turbo 2. With the camera, you just give it a little twist and then your camera pops up. And I didn't show the flashlight, but you do 2 ninja chops and the flashlight turns on. So that's pretty cool if you're getting out of bed and during the middle of the night, you can just grab your phone, boop, boop. The flash for the front-facing camera. That's pretty cool and unique. As an old iPhone user, I really appreciated the wireless and the quick charging on the Turbo 2. Wireless was super easy, just lay it on. And the quick charging gives me a pretty good decent amount of battery if I just plug it in for about a half hour. Samsung's Galaxy lineup is considered a must-have among many Android users. And at my local Best Buy, there are actually more Samsung devices on display for demo than Apple devices. And there are so many features packed into these Galaxy devices. The S6 offers a great price point if you want to get into the Galaxy game, but don't want to spend that extra cash on a Note 5 or Edge Plus. And the next time you're at Best Buy, stop by the Samsung space and demo the Gear VR featuring Oculus. This thing is amazing. All you have to do is snap your S6 or other newer Galaxy device into the VR, and you are immersed into a world of 3D, including gaming, watching a movie on the moon or your private theater. You can even go through Google Street View and act like you're walking down a street in Paris. I visited the pyramids. Here's what I don't like about the S6. Number 1 has got to be battery life. If you're using it all day, it's going to run out. But if you know you want a Galaxy device and are just shying away from the S6 because of the battery life, check out the Edge Plus or the Note 5. They're a little beefier. The S6 is just a little too light and slippery for me. It has the glass front and the glass back, and that makes it a little slippery. Some people have complained about it, falling out of their pocket or whatever. I haven't had it fall out of my pocket, but sometimes I find it a little difficult to pick up. And it's really light, so I feel like, I could drop it on almost any second. I have a lot of trouble with the fingerprint sensor. I don't know if it's just me, but sometimes it takes a couple tries to get it. And if I exceed the 5 allowed tries, then I have to enter my 10-digit password that's alphanumeric, and that's really annoying. These capacitive buttons are too sensitive for my taste. When I pick this phone up, if the screen's on, it's like I accidentally press them and then, either I'm going back and I just got out of what I wanted, or I hit tab and then I have to close these things. And so they're just a little bit too touchy for my sake. Also, the USB port down here, it's a little tricky to get my cord into, and sometimes I feel like I'm gonna break something if I'm not careful. And the last thing I don't like about the S6 is the lack of an SD card slot. If you run out of storage, you have to find another way to do it. Here is what I like about the S6. Hey! Number 1 has got to be the beautiful, high pixel density AMOLED display. That thing is gorgeous. Also, as an old iPhone user, some of my other features that I love is the home button. I don't know if I would buy another Android phone without the physical home button. I just find it so useful. Even though I have a lot of trouble with the back and tab buttons being pressed too often, I like that those are dedicated as well. And I really like the button location for the volume up, volume down, and the power button. They're in a really nice location. Also, they're not as recessed as the Turbo 2, so when you click them, you get a pretty good response. I like the idea of the fingerprint sensor. It sort of worked well on my iPhone. Here it doesn't work so well, but I like the idea of it if it works for other people. The camera quality and the camera features on the S6 is outstanding. And you have some really good pro level stuff in there that let you take advantage of that camera. I like the LED notification on the front. Flashes purple if I got an email or green if I got a text. I really like the ease of the camera launch. Just press the home button twice and it's up in a second. And like the Turbo 2, I really love the wireless and the quick charging. It's easy and fast. I really like the ability for the 5x5 grid on the home screen for the S6. It allows you to have more apps or bigger widgets. Samsung Pay is pretty cool. This actually lets you pay for your purchase just by touching it on that magnetic reader on the card swipe. I mean, some people get really shocked about that. I think it's pretty cool. I really like the infrared port in case I can't find my TV remote. And the last thing I like about the Samsung is it seems to have better interaction between my other Android devices. I already mentioned the Gear VR, that thing is amazing, but I also have a Motorola 360 2nd gen, but after I switched to the S6, more features and apps started to get downloaded to my watch, and I was able to do a lot more with it, which doesn't really make a lot of sense because the Turbo 2 is made by Motorola, my watch is made by Motorola. You think that they would have a better interaction, but it actually turned out that the Samsung is better for my watch. So all that being said, I decided to trade in my Turbo 2 for the S6, but that doesn't mean that the Turbo 2 is bad. Everyone has different needs, different tastes. Some may find ruggedness a priority, while other people the camera. If you're gonna be on your phone all day watching movies, playing games, or using it as a hotspot, I'd say pick up the Turbo 2. That beefy battery is gonna last you all day. It also has the SD card expansion, so if you're on the go and need to bring some movies with you, you can pop it in no problem. And if you're the type of person who has cracked a phone screen before, then pick up the Turbo 2 because the shatterproof display, you can't break it. But if you're techie and geeky with phones like me and you don't mind having a charger nearby when you're using your phone a lot, I say go for the S6. Now the lack of the SD card slot in this Galaxy lineup has a lot of Samsung followers unhappy, but like I said before, I'm a longtime iPhone user, so I've been used to not having an SD card slot and other cool features for a long time now. So if you're the type of person who uses a lot of gigabytes, pick up the 64 or the 128 gigabyte version. All right, so we would love to hear what you think. Which phone did you decide to go for? Or which phone do you find better than these two? What features do you find best suit your personal life? Do you find camera important, battery life, ruggedness, the screen? Comment down below with your answers, or suggest other videos you'd like to see in the future regarding science, technology, engineering, and math. STEM. Don't forget to hit the like button if we helped you decide which phone to buy, or if you learned something new. And hit the subscribe button to get access to our other videos. Thank you for watching Expedition STEM. I'm your co-host Andy, and we'll see you at the next stop.